I'd like to call the Monday, March 4th, 2024 common council meeting to order. Councilwoman Konechny, pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Clerk Treasurer Parthune.
Councilwoman Konechny.
Present.
Councilman Buchanan.
Present.
Councilwoman West.
Here.
Okay.
Councilman Frankie.
Here.
Councilwoman Huffman. Present. Councilwoman Ficus.
Present.
Councilman Galloway.
Here.
All present.
Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Petitions and comments of the citizens. And a reminder, 3 minutes, no personal attacks. Please try to avoid being repetitive. And first, we will begin George Callis in the house.
George Callis, Tornado Drive. First of all, I thank Laura for getting the street lights fixed. It's helped security run that ATM so my wife can go spend more money. Okay? I hope the engineers get a chance to go work on these things and learn how to fix them so we can fix ourselves, because I am kind of curious how much it costs for these guys to go around and fix all the lights in town, because it had to be a pretty dollar. Next thing, someone needs to get with Mr. Galloway, get his email fixed or something, because the worst thing to me is when you make a phone call, you send a text, you send an email, whatever, and you don't get a return. That wasn't towards you, though. You said you got it. Okay? Virginia Avenue hydrant. What is it, 12, 16 weeks, it's still not fixed? Parts have been in for a week, is what I've been told. I got mixed answers. One we're replacing parts, one we're replacing the entire hydrant. I don't know. Maybe the parts are interchangeable. And if so, we have 4 hydrants at the old hospital that are not being used. They're just there to protect, I don't know, dirt. We have 4 hydrants at LaPorte Landing sitting there doing, not protecting nothing. It's just for the future, I believe. Got 2 hydrants at A and 25th Street. I don't know what those are good for, but that's a little sarcastic towards part of it. Maybe we can borrow some from a contractor on I Street. He might have some ready to go someplace else. Maybe we can borrow a hydrant or 2 from him to use. And don't do it for us homeowners that live over there with wooden houses. Do it for the firemen that have to haul these hoses 200 yards to the next closest fire hydrant. Okay? And I hope I didn't jinx the neighborhood by talking about fire hydrants in there, so that, you know. And thank you to John Kramer from HRP for helping me. And one thing, I don't know, I guess this is a pet peeve. If you're gonna, can I say it? If we're gonna bitch at you guys, at least sign your damn name to it. Don't sit there and put a complaint or something on social media and not put your name on it. I mean, at least I come in here and I'm looking at you. My name's George Callis. I got a complaint, I'm telling you. Don't put your name on anything you complain about, compliment people, whatever. I'm done. My 3 minutes. Goodbye.
Hey, George, and also I would like to, and it was my first experience with him from JPR, or
HRP.
HRP. JPR is the other one. And he was excellent. For a young leader, he really did a nice job keeping us all informed and did really good work. So I'm glad you
All
said
I've done is talk to the man, and he talked as long as I wanted him to talk, and,
he's been very good.
okay.
So thank you.
Well, he said he'd be here tomorrow, so we'll see.
Dawn Blackman. Oh,
Hold the pen, right? Obviously, I'm here, Dawn Blackman, 707 West, 200 North, and I'm regarding the Park Street development. I didn't make it to the last meeting. My father was in ICU, so I apologize for that. So if I say something that I don't know what happened during that, I apologize. There's lots of things that I fear about this development. The rental mostly, being across the street from where I live. And I don't know what the occupancy rate is at the banks already. I don't know if anybody knows. I called to try to find out how many vacancies they still had to how many they have filled before we put more rental properties on LaPorte. It seems like all of LaPorte, Jefferson, Park Street, it's all rental, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. It's ran down. I'm sure the crime rate is higher in those areas than normal. So I do have concerns about that when you're wanting to put multiple rental properties around us. I don't know if it's gonna be low-income housing. Maybe you guys talked about that. I had an evaluation of my house. It's $429,000. I just don't want rental property by me for resale value, for any part of it. There's already enough trash thrown around about there. There's so many people that are gonna be in this development. It's gonna put a strain on the school system, the road. Does that mean that the corridor is no longer on the books for Severs, 200 North, if you're putting all these houses here? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe you guys can tell us later on. But you can only imagine living where you're rural. You have chickens, I have a rooster that crows. People have sheep and everything like that, to having people nonstop. What happens when they come in there and they start complaining about this? And I've lived there longer than they have. So that is a concern of mine as well. So, but pretty much it.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
Kevin Sheeler.
My name is Kevin Sheeler. I live at 1866 North, 100 West. I'm here for the same reason that she was, the Park Road corridor / whatever you want to call it. My biggest thing is I've been a union carpenter for 25 years, and I can guarantee you that if they're putting 95 townhouses and apartment buildings, they have to have somewhere for this water to go. And nobody has told us where all this water is going to go, from the roofs, from the concrete, from anything. I mean, I know it's in the city now. Maybe they're putting city sewer in there, but it's not in there yet. One other thing I can tell you that I sent an email, and I got an answer back at 5 minutes to 7 in the morning. So somebody answers emails. So I just want to give you guys a plus on that, because I got a call at 5 minutes to 7. My other thing is, I don't really like talking at these things, but when I was gone on the road for 2 years building a powerhouse in a different area, my wife was at home by herself, okay? It was 3 o'clock in the morning. Somebody drove. Miss West knows where we live. She's been there. She knows how long our driveway is. Our driveway is over 900 feet off the road, okay? So really, I'm not going to see any of these apartment buildings or any of this, but my wife called the police department, she called 911, okay? Somebody's in our backyard doing a donut. That's how far we are off the road, okay? And if they were in the front yard, she would have never known. They were in the back doing a donut. So she calls 911, and the cops never showed up. She's a little lady by herself. They never came. I don't know about anybody else, but when you call 911, they come even if you hang up. That's what I've always been told. So, and then she brings up to the officer she's talking to on the phone that somebody is in the backyard doing donuts. Here's somebody sound that she doesn't hear anymore. The cop basically says, well, you didn't ask for an officer to come out. Then he goes to screaming at her because she asked him, well, how would you feel if your wife was at home? Okay? So now you're going to have city property on one side, county on the other. Who's going to ever show up at our house or their house or whose house? I mean, we got a cop back there, okay? City cop. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but when you call 911, they come, okay? That's all I got to say about that. But the whole thing is, I'm not against building stuff. I mean, I know we got to build things. I mean, I'm a union carpenter. I make money on building stuff. So, I mean, but 96 townhouses and however many single-family homes, and just seems ridiculous. When the county, when it was in the county, they told them they weren't allowed any more than 15. That's the only thing that I see a problem with.
Thank you, Kevin. Rick Ogle.
Rick Ogle, 1902 Indiana Ave. I want to talk about an ordinance. Not that ordinance. I want to talk about an ordinance. Is there an ordinance that says no construction before 7 a.m.? If so, I would like in the future, when they start working on digging up Indiana Ave, that they not start working until 7 a.m. I'm a 77-year-old retiree.
Sorry about that, Rick, I had to choke a little bit.
Yeah, thanks. But I don't want to see it start. I just want to be ahead of this thing. Are there any plans on giving the state permission to start working before 7 a.m.?
I don't know that we can regulate that at all, Rick.
Why not?
Also-
It's in the city.
Right, but it's NDOT's, like, we don't have control over the lights, we don't have control over the roads, they.
You don't have control over the sound, over noise in the city?
But because we don't do Q and A during public comment, what we will do is bring this up Wednesday. I hope you'll be at the meeting at 5
And I will
o'clock.
be at the meeting. That's why I brought it up here. I want it out front, in front of everyone.
Good to know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Sheeler.
Jessica Sheeler, 1866 North, 100 West. I'm here about the Park Street apartments and all of that. It has been said multiple times that if you move this development, that it would just be 10 different people here, but that simply isn't true. This property is unique because it could possibly be bordering the northern corridor. If they decide to use Seavers, they will need to widen and possibly take land from not only the triangle piece, but the area across the street. I want to remind you guys of the traffic study done in April of '23. The count was 2,754 vehicles in a 24-hour period. And Jerry Sullivan, the LaPorte County engineer, said that was on the high side for that type of road. We already have a high amount of traffic without adding 150-plus cars. I had an unpleasant encounter with two individuals who I assume work with Dunlin Group. I told them that they needed to let me know when they were going to be on our neighbor's property. I asked for their name, and the one radioed to the other. He came to me and said that he is a surveyor and is not required to let me know when he is crossing onto other property. We have dogs, and I don't want anyone getting hurt. They refused to give me any names, so I called Dunlin, and I never heard back from anyone. There are reasons for their safety that I need to know when they are on certain property. I take care of our neighbor's property while he is gone. They were very disrespectful. He said specifically if my dogs bit him, that it would be on him. No one has been explaining anything about the water runoff or where it's going. I once again ask you not to put the cart before the horse and possibly wait until the northern corridor is decided. All of LaPorte is looking terrible to anyone looking to buy a home here now anyway. Between the police chief, the closing of one school, and the money situation with the schools, if there is truly a need that urgent that we can't wait a few months, why don't we develop apartments and such on the old hospital site or the Newport Landing, or maybe far enough south so that we can keep Kingsford Heights open? Thank you.
And again, I would like to remind the council members, our focus on the corridor, especially with the first step, is listening, and we haven't moved anything with the north-south corridor and looking to do it internally, solving our own problem, trying to find within the city limits, allowing truck traffic to find an alternative route. We've been doing that now for probably 6 months, at least, that we haven't talked one time about going north up on Seavers, North Seavers, We have talked continually. People want us to solve our own issue. We're trying to work in solving our own issue. Our downtown will be more walkable, it will be more available, and the truck traffic will be off Lincoln Way. But we are working towards solving our own issues within the city limits. Any comments from the public?
Nothing yet.
Did you fill out a form? All right, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Emily Robin, 402 Truesdale. Apologize for not filling out the form. I was hoping that I wouldn't feel obligated to say something and hoping someone else would. I just wanted to address the behavior from last week, or last meeting. As someone who probably could be most of your daughter, it's awkward for me to be here asking for you guys to act appropriately. Last meeting, to have prepared for my 3 minutes and then had the rug pulled out under me, and you guys, in my opinion, kind of taking a cowardice approach to, oh, there's conflict, we're just gonna not address the police commission issues. If our ordinances are wrong, they need to be addressed, absolutely, and just turning away from that and being like, oh, no, what is the point then? Like, have the open discussion. And that was frustrating to have prepared my 3 minutes and then come into it not able to speak eloquently or appropriately because you guys flipped the rules on the agenda all of a sudden. Also really frustrating that during all of the people that spoke, multiple council members were on their phones and on their laptops, and what is the point of us being up here speaking, whether we've prepared or not, if you're not listening? I understand that it's hard for you guys to sit there and to be talked down to or perceived to be talked down to. It is a job that you chose to take, and why are you on your phones? Again, it just baffles my mind that I have to be having a conversation like this. And then also, I just wanted it on record, I did reach out to Miss Parthun, about the minutes. I think the minutes were written inexcusably, and I'm disappointed by the council for all of you accepting it as was, at least if the draft that I received was written. Again, the 6 or 7 of us that spoke, that prepared our 3 minutes, it wasn't captured appropriately. Our concerns and frustrations weren't captured appropriately, and those meeting minutes are a record of what we've said and prepared, and to just sweep us under the rug like that is disrespectful, and like, what is the point of continuing to come to these if you're just gonna do what you want and not take it seriously? That's all.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, and I'll respond to that. This group of individuals, council members, in addition to their job, take this very serious. I've never seen you come here to talk to a single issue, a problem in the mayor's office, to any one of these council members, and they are disappointing to you. When you look to other people and talk about the meeting minutes, because you were focused on filming something that happened after of a department head walking out, and magically you were filming it for some reason, that of a person just walking out. These people take the social media, excuse me, you're done speaking. You've spoken, and so now I'm speaking. And we're not having that. We can work together to solve problems, but we're not going to have setups of individuals that are walking out being told something about their family and then be ignored and suddenly being filmed. And it's unacceptable. And because these are elected officials, doesn't mean they have to sit back and take unfair or uneducated criticism. They work extremely hard. The police chief, if you look at law, you have a right to your opinion, but if Mr. Otis wants to address this, of a civilian police chief is different than a police chief that's an officer. So it's clearly stated in state statute, am I wrong, Mr. Otis? Is 70 years old is fine to be a police chief. And talk to the officers now. You've got an officer back here. Talk to the officers of what they think of Chief Buell now versus all the complaints by individuals, not only here in previous, from our officers and from the public that wanted improvement and wanted change. And they're now receiving it. We're seeing officers everywhere doing their job to keep our community safe. And that's our focus. It's not a gotcha moment. We stated the facts. We'll continue to work within the facts, within the law, moving forward. But this council works extremely hard in addition to their jobs, where they have to make income for their family, and they give up their time because they love this community and are trying to make a difference. With that, standing committee reports. Council
Honor.
President Frankie.
Redevelopment Commission met last Wednesday, February 28th, here in council chambers. Public bids were open for the Don George property on Pine Lake Ave. There's one bid which was accepted, purchase price of $40,000 for the land. Baker Tilly was rehired for the year as the RDC's advisor. Couple of additional improvements at Weller and Orchard Avenue on the railroad. Quiet zone stops were approved, just to get that within compliance. And lastly, assignment and assumption agreement was approved for a transfer of land in Newport Landing for a new dental office. And closing may have happened. If not, it's this week, I believe. That's all.
And I would like to add, and I apologize because we had horns blow at 12 a.m., 12:16 a.m., 12:45 a.m., and 3:30 a.m. Just this other day. I had a conference call with Norfolk Southern today. They understand our frustration, but they also know they have Norfolk Southern engineers that have been blowing the horn for 30-odd years, and it's just a habit, and they're working with them. I said it just seems like it's going back to normal slowly on the west side of our community because the east side doesn't seem to hear it as much, and so it seems like they're starting, like they blow the horns right away when they come into town, like they've always done, and then they forget, then they remember, and maybe on the east side, they're not blowing. So they've just said, please work with us, continue to work with us, and they'll get better. Councilwoman Huffman.
Due to the unavailability of most of the Sustainability Commission for going to Purdue Road School, the Sustainability Commission will meet Thursday, March 14th at 4 p.m. here in council chambers.
Councilwoman Ficus.
Park Board met on February 21st. Emily Archibald was introduced as the new Assistant Director, largely responsible for the development of the Parks and Recreation Department, but also taking on other operational duties as well. Emily is a LaPorte native and formerly with the Share Foundation. It was approved by the board to put guest and building policies into place at the Civic Auditorium to protect patrons. Some items included in the policy are a list of prohibited items, rules regarding disorderly conduct, and inspection of bags prior to admission at civic events. The 2023 annual report was presented and accepted along with the hiking mountain bike trail usage rules. Bill Lott attended the meeting to present a possible mountain bike skills practice area that will be located in Soldiers Memorial Park. They are working with the Healthcare Foundation to secure funding. A donation was given to the Park Department for the placement of a kayak launch at Kiwanis Teledyne Park. The idea is currently in the design phase. Approval was given to apply for a Real Services grant for the Activity Center for Older Adults. The grant, if awarded, would go for the purchase of new tables, chairs, things like that at the center. There was also discussion regarding the 2024 Lake Fest happening this summer. Talks included pyrotechnics, a headliner act, allowing parking in the grass during the festival at both Fox and Soldiers Memorial Parks, an extension of park hours, and allowing overnight parking for the racing crews and staff. So the next park board meeting will be Wednesday, March 20th, 4 PM at the park office, and traffic commission will be meeting tomorrow, 5 PM at the police station.
Councilman Galloway.
Next Monday, March 11th, will be the first Mayor's Veterans Committee meeting of the year. It's 5 o'clock at the Park Department. And also, a week from tomorrow, on the 12th, will be the Police Merit Commission meeting at 2 o'clock at Police Department.
Councilwoman West.
Before I read this, I just wanted to state, just to clear something up, Emily was not the person that pulled out her phone to videotape. So it kind of sounded like maybe she was the one, she was not the one person that did that.
That's why I didn't say she did.
Okay, well then that was, then I just wanted to make sure that was clear, just in case she was thinking that was said.
Nor, that's why I did not say she did.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to carry on with my report. From the fire department, they are accepting applications for their upcoming hiring list. The applications will be available online and at Station 1 through March 27th. And the mental aptitude test will be administered on April 13th at the Civic Auditorium. And the Fire Merit Commission also certified the promotional list, which will remain in effect for the next 2 years, expiring on January 31st of 2026. Some good news to share with our urban enterprise zone and their 2023 accomplishments. A press release was sent out on February 29th, sharing a lot of the successes of our local businesses, for our local businesses and residents and within the UEA zone. $123,000 was awarded to 13 business owners, with monies being awarded to not only improve facade renovations, but with their expanded programs, they were able to provide monies for internal renovations and upgrades. The UEA also awarded tens of thousands of dollars in special grants to benefit the community as a whole, which included the city's popular dumpster program, which over 2 million pounds of trash was removed from our community. They were also committed to helping our downtown flourish with supporting community events such as our Friday Night Live events and our Farm and Forage Market, which drew in record crowds for our community events. Also, in partnership with the City of LaPorte Park and Rec Department, the UEA awarded $40,000 to support this expansion of the parking lot along Truesdale Ave near the amphitheater in Fox Park. So for any residents or businesses seeking more information on the UEA, you can contact Mary Ann Richards at 219-362-8260 or at thecityoflaporte.com. And their next meeting will be Wednesday, March 20th at 4 p.m.
Councilman Buchanan.
The Historic Preservation Commission met February 21st at 5:30. The commission renewed the annual assistance agreement between the Indiana Landmark Commission and the HPC.
Councilwoman Konechny.
The Airport Authority, exciting news. The LaPorte Municipal Airport, for the first time in history, is going to be a part of the Air Race Classic. It's a national all-women's air race. The Air Race Classic traces its origins back to 1947. The race has only stopped in Indiana 16 times in all those years. This year, LaPorte will be the very first stop of the race, meaning that all racers should arrive in on the same day. There are on average 40 to 50 teams of racers, each team containing of 2 to 3 pilots. The racers will leave Carbondale, Illinois on the morning of June 18th, taking off 5 minutes apart from one another. They'll head to LaPorte, where the airport will have teams of volunteers waiting to track timing, fuel their planes, fuel the pilots, and get them back on the air as smoothly and as quickly as possible. Teams could compete for fun or competitively, but regardless, they have 4 days to finish the race. We at the airport are honored to be a part of this race this year and look forward to pulling off what we hope the racers will vote as to be the best stop of the race. The Airport Authority will meet next on March 13th at 5:15 at the airport. End of report.
Any other comments?
No, not right now.
Social media?
No. Nothing.
Councilwoman West, second and final reading of an ordinance.
Your Honor, I move to read an ordinance for the second time by title only. Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Councilwoman West.
An ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of LaPorte, Indiana, as enacted August 21st, 2017, which is a part of Chapter 82 of the Municipal Code of the City of LaPorte by amending the official zone map that are a part of the zoning ordinance in order to rezone 2 parcels of real estate in the City of LaPorte. End of ordinance.
Mr. Cook, brief review from last meeting.
Good evening to council. Bert Cook, Executive Director of the LaPorte Economic Advancement Partnership. I feel like we've talked at length about many of the issues surrounding this particular ordinance. I'll mention a couple things, and then obviously if you have questions, I'll be happy to try and address those. I think there was some very good discussion at both the Plan Commission and at your previous meeting regarding things that we have to be mindful of if this development moves forward. Traffic was mentioned, drainage I know was mentioned multiple times. Give a lot of credit to John and his team. It's been, we joked, over-communicative with the city departments in making sure that we're meeting on a regular basis to address these issues. If you choose to move forward by passing this ordinance, I know that will continue, and many of those issues that have driven questions will be addressed through the site review process, which is typical with any project in the city of LaPorte. That is the opportunity where all of our department heads have an opportunity to sit with the developer or builder to discuss or pre-discuss any of those issues before they become a problem and ultimately save time. And then the second item, the question was occupancy at the bank. So very pleased to say that's completely full. The mayor and I, just late last week, ran into the situation where we had someone who was looking to move to LaPorte. They were looking for an apartment to rent. We called just about every single place that you could imagine in town, and ultimately really struggled to find anything, whether that's the banks or the lofts at 920, 701 Maple. There's just very few options out there. And in those situations, luckily this individual, had the assistance from the mayor, but for the vast majority of people that consider moving to our community, that's not an option, right? And so they struggle to find those connections and ultimately end up in other communities for that very reason, so.
And also, just to be honest, outside of the ficus development, we just had somebody interested in seeing all the options of home sales to buy a home in LaPorte. And until you really dig in, over the weekend, I couldn't find one home that was for sale. And then a sign popped up Sunday, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm the first one to see it. And all of a sudden, everybody saw that, and they've been focused on that home in Beechwood, or on Beechwood.
It's just so
A lot
how
of
far out of whack this supply and demand has become that anytime any homes, I'm looking at you because I think you would agree, Laura, anytime a home of merit hits the market, you have so many people that are vying for that it just becomes very difficult to find options for people. So I'll stop there. If you obviously have any questions, I will be happy to try and answer those. And John and his team are here as well, so I'm sure he'd be willing to answer questions if you have something that I can't cover.
And if I can just add one thing, I'm going to ask because the Blackmans, the Sheelers have been, whether they support this, do not support it, they've been very professional, very kind. I would just ask that you keep them in the loop. They're not going to be happy maybe with some things, but, make sure they're aware of the site review so they can come to the meetings, answer questions. We owe that. They're in the county. We could easily just say, oh, it's the city. Please, we'll make sure that you're all included in the process. Again, you may not like it, but at least have a say and include them. We had a meeting this morning with a homeowner, had some concerns and issues, and we owe that. It makes it move smoother.
Did you speak to the market rate housing, Bert? I think that was one of the questions about.
Price point of the
Yeah,
development.
yeah, I think somebody brought up, is this subsidized or government or whatever?
Yeah, and I may not have the date exactly right, but I believe it was the close of last year when this development agreement came in front of the city. One of the points that Councilwoman Knesny made was, try and drive the price to as affordable level as possible, especially with current market conditions. So it is all market rate housing on all sides, whether that's single-family townhomes or the apartments. We've stressed with John and his team that, speaking of the single-family homes, we really would like to, if we could come in sub 300,000, we think that would, is a sweet spot in terms of what is desperately needed in our market. I know that's tough to do right now because of interest rates, because of cost of goods, price of labor. It's just it's a difficult place to be. And, I'm on the radio pretty regularly. We have people call in and they'll say, well, we need $150,000 homes. It's very expensive to build a home in this particular economy. So the hope is that as this project progresses, and again, I stress, you're not going to see 150 homes built next year, right? This is a long-term development, but as this development plays out, interest rates come down, cost of goods come down a little bit, we'd like to be able to hit that price point to the best of our ability.
And then in terms of, you talked about those site review plans, that's where like sewer, utilities, flooding, like planning for how you allocate water distribution, that's all discussed at those meetings.
Correct. Every department, as well as NIPSCO, is represented at those meetings, and we're proud of that process because we believe it gives the developer an opportunity to hear about things that, before they become issues. So oftentimes, we'll discuss, and I'm probably not I'm not our city engineer by no means, I'm not trying to pretend that I am, but we'll discuss those stormwater issues, water and wastewater, typically discuss where their utilities come in and how those connections are made. So that process is designed to increase open communication between all parties.
Questions for Mr. Cook?
Yep, you touched on this, discussing the price point, and I know the answer, but I just wanted to clear it up for questions. This is not low income, this is not subsidized, this is single-family or multifamily homes that are market rate. It's not subsidies of any type.
Right, and as this agreement was, is put together, I mean, the price point as it stands right now, we're at 320 to 340, 325 to 340. That's where it stands right now. The hope is that that comes down and we can find a little bit more affordable, but it's not gonna deviate much from where they are contractually.
Yeah. I did a little research, so I just joined the commission, and one of my first meetings was the Plan Commission when this was presented. So I had to kind of wrap my head around what was actually happening and what actual data was, and so I did a little research on the need for rental, because I had the assumption that there's rentals everywhere, which is why you probably shouldn't make assumptions. So I grew up in the county. If I am very sympathetic with the remonstrators, if I was in that situation living, I would probably have the same concerns, questions, everything. So I had to put myself in this seat, and I represent the city, who's demonstrated a very much a need for housing. I went back and looked at all of the housing studies that the city has paid for, saying that this is needed, and then finding the need for rentals. That's how I had to clear my head that I'm in this seat, and although I'm very sympathetic, that this is where I have to focus, so.
Well, it's also difficult because no matter what price point it comes in at, a portion of the population is unhappy, right? I've stood here multiple times with you all and previous councils, and if I come to you and tell you it's a very affordable product, then individuals don't like that. If I come to you and tell you it's a high-end product, then a portion of the population doesn't like that either. There's ultimately not a great answer that's going to please everybody, but from our position, we should be trying to address the housing needs we have across the entire spectrum. And that's not done with one project, that's multiple projects at different price points with different end products. And that's why the hope that we have is that we'll continue to bring you projects that will meet those needs, whatever the particular.
And not only for our current residents, but we have the EV battery plant that's New Carlisle. Obviously, other things could be happening in addition to that, and that's why you see the hospital. I couldn't agree more. The hospital site. We have 18th site. We have Tidma Bakery. We have Maple Commons, or, I'm sorry.
701 Maple.
Coke Building.
Oh, sorry.
Coke Building. We have a variety, Beechwood Lakes. We have probably 10 opportunities. We just have had several conversations with a developer out of Evansville that wants to come in and look at more affordable housing in certain areas, looking at property. So, I mean, we know we're in every level of need for housing in the city of LaPorte, and I know the school system was mentioned. Obviously, there's some issues here with the school system, lack of population, that we have to bring kids in, and we want to see LaPorte do well, but obviously something's happening there that we're not directly involved in. But housing, when you say no for 30 years, which we've talked about, and Ficus is the only builder, And we basically told people, no, 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 for 30 years, and have never had an outside builder come in to build a neighborhood in the last 30 years. You're gonna get behind the 8 ball. And we're well beyond the 8 ball, and this won't happen overnight, but we are trying to be respectful and build quality housing, and I'll never go through what we went through across the street, ever. And our code enforcement expectations, our police expectations, and everybody else, we're gonna make sure community members are safe and our community have clean, respectful, safe housing.
And just to elaborate on one point the mayor made, we're not, the need is so great, infill development with one lot here or one lot there, while that's great and it may address one particular family's needs, we're talking on a totally different scale, right? You're talking about thousands of units that are needed across our community as a whole. Larger scale developments are the only way that that can be addressed, and it involves oftentimes developers who maybe haven't taken on a project here before. So we're excited about those opportunities. We'll continue to put the appropriate amount of thought into every deal, and there will be things in this deal that, as we work through that site review process, that will have to change and will be amended to better fit the needs of the site and better fit the needs of the city. That's all part of the process, but we have to start somewhere, and this is where this process begins.
Questions from Mr. Cook? Comments from council? Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Ficus.
Your Honor, I
John,
move-
welcome to LaPorte. I apologize. Please work with the, got some people, good people. Councilwoman Ficus.
Your Honor, I move to read an ordinance for the second and final time by title only.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Councilwoman Ficus.
An ordinance establishing a four-way stop at the intersection of Lake Street and Tyler Street. End of ordinance.
Do I have a motion to approve? Ms. Councilwoman Ficus, just as a reminder,
This is at the intersection of like where the water department is, Larson Danielson is. It's kind of hard sometimes to see if you're, I had this written down, if you're going west heading east, like because of the Larson Danielson building, and then with Chessie Trail coming there, there's going to be increased traffic, so we just think a four-way stop is necessary for safety.
so is it at the T where LD is?
Yeah, because there's actually, coming out of the water department, there's a stop sign there that's like an extension of Tyler, so it's actually a four-way. It's just kind of a weird little intersection.
And it's difficult to see around the
It-
building.
it is, mhm.
Is it four-way or three-way?
It's two-way right now. We'd like it to be four-way, adding on the east and westbound of Lake Street.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Councilman President Frankie, introduction of a petition for annexation.
Move to introduce a petition for annexation read in its entirety for the first time.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Council President Frankie.
Falls Real Estate Holding LLC makes an application to the Common Council of the City of LaPorte, Indiana for the voluntary annexation of land to the City of LaPorte, Indiana, and for the zoning of that land in Center Township, LaPorte County, Indiana, and in support of which petition alleges and affirms as follows. Number one, the owner owns 2 parcels of land, more particularly described in Exhibits A and B attached here too. Number 2, owner desires that these 2 parcels of land be annexed to the City of LaPorte, Indiana by proper ordinance. Number 3, the owners are 100% of the owners of the land sought to be annexed. Number 4, the properties sought to be annexed are north of East 250 South, west of South 200 East, and east of US Route 35. The property tax key numbers are as follows. Exhibit A, parcel 46-06-205-200-005.00-042, 29.22 plus or minus acres. Exhibit B, parcel 46-07-30-100-002, .000-052, 62.8 plus or minus acres. Number 6, the name and address of the property owners of all the petition sites is Exhibit A parcel, Qualls Real Estate Holding LLC, 24371 Pinnacle Circle, South Lyon, Michigan, 48178. Exhibit B parcel, Qualls Real Estate Holding LLC, 24371 Pinnacle Circle, South Lyon, Michigan, 48178. Number 7, the acreage of the parcels sought to be annexed is as follows. Exhibit A parcel, 29.22 plus or minus acres. Exhibit B parcel, 62.8 plus or minus acres. The 2 parcels are used for agriculture. 8, there are 0 residents in the proposed annexation area. 9, the parcels are currently zoned agriculture and shall be rezoned M1 light industrial. Number 10, the total number of parcels proposed in this petition is 2. Number 11, the following information has been submitted with the petition. 11.1, a brief legal description of each parcel titled as Exhibits A and B. Number 12, the signatures of all owners of land within the territory to be annexed. Qualls Real Estate Holding LLC, owner Exhibit A and B, Robert Qualls, president. And I assume I can skip the legal description.
Correct, yep. You can explain this.
Mr. Cook? And again, first, I'd like to say this is a super voluntary. This was not our request.
Correct. So Bob Qualls and his family, Quincy Development, you're familiar with them because they've done a number of projects in our community. They own a number of industrial buildings, but most recently, they built the Pure spec building that was built in the industrial park, 150,000 square feet, which they were able to fill prior to the completion of construction. They've since, are 3/4 of the way done building the second building, which is another 150,000 square feet. If you've driven out there, you've probably seen the progress that's made. So this parcel, they were able to acquire this 109 acre over 2 parcels, which surrounds the Thomas Rose Industrial Park. Originally, back in 2014, when we expanded the industrial park, we anticipated this may occur at some point, so we built the infrastructure in a way that it could be extended, or relatively easily could be extended to serve these additional sites, which would be the plan. And the first step in that process is annexation. As we've, again, talked numerous times, they would have to have the utility connections in order for it to be a viable industrial site. So we start the process here with annexation. It is completely super voluntary, as the mayor mentioned, and the plan would be, as this progresses, I think they're eager to look at all opportunities there, whether that's a build-to-suit scenario or continuing down this path of building spec buildings and potentially looking for tenants for those. But either scenario, I think, is acceptable from our perspective. The Qualls family have been great to work with. They've met all of the promises that they made to you all, to our redevelopment commission. And again, much like our discussion on residential, the industrial park, we filled the industrial park in 2008 with the final, when Montisol purchased the last acreage available, and then expanded in 15, and we've, sold a good deal of those sites as well. So this would provide new options for our industrial sector as well.
Questions for Mr. Cook?
Just like any super voluntary annexation, this takes about 3 to 4 months to complete. What we would, so tonight starts the process. I would just ask, and I'll go through the entire process real quick, but that there be a vote to accept the petition. You're not voting to approve the annexation, you're just accepting the petition. Then I'll work with Courtney's office to get that in the newspaper. And we have a public hearing that'll be at the first April meeting. And we'll go from there. Fiscal plan will be prepared, so.
I move to accept the petition for annexation.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And Mr. Cook, for the record, can you put out your office number so that people do want to contact you about this? Please, we want to give that.
Sure. 219-324-8584 is our office number.
Extension 4.
I'm not sure what my extension is, but if you dial the main number.
Trust me, it's 4.
Okay, it's 4.
I learned the hard way, but 324-8584.
Yes.
Extension 4.
Thank you.
Councilman Buchanan, public hearing and introduction of a resolution.
Your Honor, I'd like to introduce a resolution read for the first and only time in its entirety.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Councilman Buchanan.
Additional appropriation for general fund, Fund Number 1101. Whereas it has been determined that it's now necessary to appropriate more money than was appropriated in the annual budget, now therefore, Section 1, be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of LaPorte, LaPorte County, Indiana, that for the expenses of the taxing unit, the following additional sums of money are hereby appropriated out of the fund named and for the purposes specified, subject to the laws governing the same. Fund Number 1101, 18th Street Sewer Expansion Project, amount requested $400,000.
And this is just a process again in government.
Yes, so these are funds from the sale of property for 18th Street, so we're using those funds, most of the funds were from that sale of property. Some were from the sale of some other property, but we're using those funds to put it right back in that area, 18th Street, for the sewer expansion project, for that housing development. It wasn't budgeted, so we're doing an additional appropriation.
So this is a resolution. It can pass this evening. Before we do, I'd like to open it up to a public hearing. Anybody that would like to speak on this appropriation for 18th Street? Anybody would like to
And
speak?
Mayor, for the record, the affidavit of publication was filed on February 16th, 2024, published in the LaPorte County Herald Dispatch.
The public hearing is open. Anybody that'd like to speak on this? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. It is a resolution. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I believe we're going to keep the items tabled that are tabled.
No, I move to untable one of the vacancies from the Business Improvement District Council appointment, leaving one vacancy still on the table.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The one-term appointment for the bid district has now been moved onto the agenda. Do I have a motion or do I have a recommendation?
Yeah, I spoke with Tu Bloom, who owns Bon Viet, and has made a significant investment into the downtown area, and I know him personally. I have no doubt that he will be an asset to the committee, so I move we appoint Tu.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So with that, any other items to be untabled? And just a reminder to the public, as it was stated today, and I'm going to say this. By the way, my cell phone is 219-363-7293. I'm available day or night. I know people feel more comfortable on social media versus dealing direct with me, but I am accessible and available. And just to comment, real life happens not only for the public, not only for our residents, but also happens for our council and our clerk treasurer. And I will tell you this, we're fortunate with what's been going on in our clerk treasurer's life over the last month and a half with a family member, not to get too detailed. She gets cell phone calls and just received another one, and text and updates. She's here. She's not in Chicago at a hospital because she cares about the city of LaPorte. And she's on her cell phone because she's holding her family together because an individual in her family is very ill. And I will tell you, we're fortunate to have her here and the work that she does every day with the personal struggle she faces. And anybody that has issue from the public with cell phones and so forth, there's a reason why. And we pray and thank her for all that she's done. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Have a great night, everyone.